What's going on, guys? Days of Darkness, CoronaMania, Part 4, Day of the Dead. Holy shit. How do I even introduce this? What an awesome way to cap off my first series on this channel. CoronaMania has been awesome. Obviously, I enjoy all the three previous films that I reviewed on this channel. However, to me, bar none, Day of the Dead is my favorite zombie film of all time. There are numerous reasons for this. First of all, I want to give a short little brief tribute to George A. Romero. The original Dead trilogy being Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead, to me, those three films, it's one of the best horror trilogies of all time. It's not up for debate. You can talk about, your Omen trilogies and the Friday the 13th series and Nightmare on Elm Street and all of that. To me, those films don't happen if it's not for Night of the Living Dead. To me, Texas Chainsaw Massacre does not, which is perfection, by the way, does not happen without Night of the Living Dead. To me, George A. Romero was someone who was very, very innovative when it comes to the horror genre. Night of the Living Dead is an absolute masterpiece. I will get into that another day. Dawn of the Dead is incredible. I will get into that another day. Today we are obviously talking about Day of the Dead, my favorite zombie film of all time. And I could just spend the full 30 minutes putting over George A. Romero. There is something about his films, you can just tell, whether you like him or not. I know some of his later work people aren't too keen on, and it's up and down for me too. However, you can tell there's just a love and a passion that this guy has for what he does. And as someone who loves and embraces film in all forms myself, to me, that puts him head and shoulders above a lot of filmmakers. And there are obviously other examples of people who really do love their craft. But to me, George A. Romero always, whether it was an amazing film like the Dead trilogy, or if it was one you really didn't like that much, it never seemed like he was slacking. It never ever to me seemed like he was not putting forth as much effort as he could. And there are a lot of filmmakers that happens with. I won't name any names, but sometimes you can just tell. I've never got that sense from George A. Romero, ever. He is one of the few. And yeah, so quick little tribute to him. George, rest in peace, man. We miss you. And yeah, that was a bad loss. It's still, even now, it still sucks just thinking about the fact that such a legend in the horror genre is unfortunately no longer with us. But let's do the guy a service and let's review this kick-ass film. Now, this movie came out in 1985, starring Laurie Cardille, Terry Alexander, and Joseph Pilato, and was obviously written and directed by George A. Romero. And as I've said already, this is my favorite zombie film ever. To me, you get a blend of, first of all, just horrifying shit happens with the zombies, which is, essential for a zombie film, but also you get that tension among the humans themselves. And to me, the pretty much, I would say, a low-key war, psychological war is going on between two parties in this film. And to me, I love the zombie stuff. Obviously, that's incredible. And it's, provides the gore in this film, which is incredible also. Shout out to Tom Savini. We'll get to that in a minute. But to me, what really drives this film forward and what really, I believe puts the asses in the seats is that personal tension between the characters, the survivors. And everyone's, I don't really consider this a spoiler, but everyone's losing their shit in this movie in one way or another. Excuse me. Burp. Everyone is losing their shit in this movie. And you can tell. It's so apparent just how they're behaving and how they're acting. All the performances. I can't talk, damn it. All the performances in this, to me, are incredible. It's funny. This is the first film for Days of Darkness that I actually watched twice. I watched it by myself and took all my notes. And then I mentioned to my folks, I was like, yeah, I just watched Day of the Dead. Dad's like, well, I want to watch that. And so we did. And I sat down and I fucking watched it again and had zero problem with it. That's how compelling these characters are. Is like, you can get something... I'm not going to say you can get a whole different message out of the film or anything like that, but you can get something different out of it every time. There's a lot of commentary in this that applies greatly to what's going on today. And all in all, just fantastic. And I can sit here forever putting over this film. But to do that, I need to get into spoilers, so we're going to get into that in just a second. But if you need my recommendation, if you haven't gotten the sense already that I enjoy this film, abso-fucking-lutely, go watch George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. And before you do that, watch Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead 2. It's just, to me, they're all three separate films. If you don't have the time, you can absolutely just watch this, and you don't need to watch the other two. They're not, connected in any way. But to me, if you really just want to spoil yourself, just sit down, carve out a day. Day of the Dead. Carve out a day and just watch all three of these films. But most importantly, for right now, absolutely check out Day of the Dead. We are going to get into why this film kicks so much ass in the spoiler section. Alright, spoiler time. You've been warned. Now, the opening of this film, the dream in the very beginning of this, I think is extremely unsettling, and I think sets a really good tone for this film. Now, it's just Sarah just laying there or in a fetal position in this just blank white concrete room. No doors to be seen or anything like that, which in and of itself for me would be terrifying. I hate the idea of not being able to leave a place whenever I want. It's just something that's very unsettling to me, like a real life thing. So immediately that's already weird for me. But then you get all these zombie arms just bursting out of the wall before she awakens, and it's like, I've had, like I said, I've had a lot of weird dreams in my life, but that, anyways, so that immediately goes into her and her little boo thing, Miguel, them and the two helicopter pilots all looking for survivors. They're basically scouring the fucking whole United States, essentially, for just anybody. They get down there. Now, one thing about this movie, people are very unaware that zombies can still hear you. They can hear you. So whenever Miguel's on the radio, just, hello, is anybody out there? It's like, you fucking idiot, they can hear you. And so all these zombies, and maybe that was intentional on Miguel's part, just to see if there was anybody out there, if it's just zombies. But to me, if I'm looking for survivors, I would sneak around and shut the fuck up. But, to each his own. And it's in these shots where you see all these zombies, kind of realizing that someone's yelling at the top of their lungs, and they start lunging towards them. It's there where you see that this world is fucked. This world it's over. It's completely over. The Dead series kind of goes from the initial disaster of everything, and it kind of leads into just post-apocalyptic, and that's where we're at in this movie. The world's fucked. Zombies are just all over the place, and there's really no sign of life. Everything's trashed from the initial outbreak, and now all you have left are these literal shells of people. Also, there's a fucking alligator in this movie. He's just kind of chilling there, just running around. I don't even think he's a zombie. I think he's just kind of vibing. You know, he's just walking around like, well, whatever. He doesn't want to eat the zombies, fucking nasty ass things. But yeah, and that's even more of a states more of a case of how fucked up this world is. But yeah, so they eventually they're like, all right, fuck this, and they go back to their base. And this base is where the majority of the film takes place, and in my opinion, where you get probably the most compelling, I guess you'd call it a feud between human characters in a zombie film. Because while the zombies are a key part of this, and I will be talking extensively about the zombies in this film, it's the characters in this and their battle is so compelling to me. On one side, you have the scientists, led by Dr. Logan and Sarah, and the other cat who I can't remember his name, but and their whole thing is like, we need Sarah's whole thing is we need to figure out a way to stop this. We need to develop some sort of medication or something to be able to reverse this effect. And Sarah's a great character and everything, but I don't know if I feel the same way. I think this thing's pretty much fucked. I think you just gotta survive with what you can. And Dr. Logan's whole thing is, well, let's make them obedient. And Dr. Logan, they call him Frankenstein in this movie. Very fittingly so, because this dude is off his fucking rocker. And you would think you would side with these guys, because they're at least trying to find a solution to the problem. And Sarah's the protagonist of this film, no doubt about it. I wouldn't call Dr. Logan a protagonist. I would call Sarah and the two helicopter pilots the protagonists of this film, because this dude's completely fucking insane. He is absolutely batshit crazy. Just of how he has some good ways of, I mean, what he's doing is working to an extent, but his ideal situation of making all these zombies just obey him and essentially cater to humans is not realistic. Which is weird, because he's telling the military guys who are the other side of this argument, he's telling them, well, you can't just blow them all away. And it's like, yeah, well, you can't train them like dogs either. So it's like, and you can see both sides of the argument. And the other side of that argument would be the military, led by Captain Rhodes, who their whole thing is, let's just blow these fuckers away. I mean, there's no going back. Let's just fucking kill them. Which, they're definitely the antagonists of this film, for sure. And also a bunch of racist, sexist, fucking ingrates. But their idea it's smart. I mean, I don't know if I wouldn't probably side with these guys, because it's like, what really can you do at this point? And it's so compelling, because it's like, for me, the way I would think of things is like, yeah, I would probably side with the military guys, but they're so fucking evil, and some of the shit they do in this movie and some of the shit they say is so fucked up and mean-spirited and just bad. Like, both sides of this argument have their flaws, and that's what I like so much about the central conflict in this film. Is it's not good guys and bad guys. It's two sides of an argument, and both sides have gone completely fucking insane, which I think is really cool. And it's basically, trying to say, like, humans are gonna do what they're gonna do, and in a situation like this, who's to say they're not just as bad as the infected? Which I think is It's a conflict with a lot of depth, and it's fucking great. And I really want to focus on three, well, technically four characters in this film. They're the ones I find the most compelling. Obviously, everyone in this film is really good. But I do want to focus on three little bullets. First being the relationship between Sarah and Miguel. Now, Miguel, as I've stated before, is Sarah's boo thing, and he's losing it. He is very much so not in a healthy mindset, and he's a member of the military. I'm assuming that's how they met. She probably hooked up with him while while whatever they were originally doing on that base. They probably hooked up during that time, and then all this shit hit the fan, and Miguel is not taking it too well. No one really is, but he's like, he's like breaking down. He is a shell of himself. He is not the same person whatsoever. And it's almost heartbreaking because you can see that these two people really care about each other. But this whole conflict just drives them apart completely. Like, they're not even, you don't really get a sense of them being happy together because it's not where the film picks up. But you can just tell that there was something there and it just got ripped away from them. And that's really, really sad. That sucks. That really, really sucks. And yeah, so it's a struggle of her trying to remain patient with him, and she needs to be sedated because he can't sleep. He refuses to sleep because he constantly thinks these things are out to get him, which they are. So he's right to think that. And so she basically, and he feels like she's just betraying him and completely fucking him over, and it's just, there's a lot of really good shit. I'm not gonna give away the whole deal with them, but all in all, I just really think that showing a romantic relationship get completely torn apart by this is very compelling, and I'm glad we get a lot of that in this film because there's a lot of character work between those two, and I love it. A lot of people, for instance, I was watching this with my folks, as I mentioned earlier, and my mom was she did not like Miguel whatsoever because he kind of acts like a bitch in this movie. To be totally honest, at times he almost seems like a petulant little child, just how he throws his arms up and flails around like a kid having a temper tantrum. But it's to me, this guy's losing his fucking mind. And you can't tell me that there wouldn't be people in real life going through that. I mean, we're seeing that in real life to a different extent right now. I mean, at my work, people are fucking acting like animals sometimes. It's ridiculous. And people are just not themselves anymore. And that's exactly what's happening with this character. He is gone. Any traces of what was originally Miguel, unfortunately we don't get to see that. He's different. He's a completely different person. And I really think it's cool how this film shows that. Second of all, being Dr. Logan. His character I found, performance level extremely entertaining. Really cool stuff from him and his relationship with Bub, who we will get to in a second. But his whole thing is wanting to train these beasts, these monsters, and making them civil, and that's very, very far-fetched. But even though his methods are downright fucking evil in some cases. Excuse me. I always get gassy during these fucking things. I don't know what's wrong with me. But yeah, his whole thing is trying to basically house train these things, and Rhodes even says it when he demonstrates some of the stuff he can do with Bub. He's like, "Do you want us to fucking teach him tricks? Do you want to teach him how to sit down and roll over? What the fuck is wrong with you? They're dead." And he's like, Rhodes is an evil bastard, but he's got a point. But regardless, Dr. Logan is extremely set on doing this. However, he says that the reward is the key for these things. They need a reward, and his whole idea of a reward is feeding his test subject Bub, uh, feeding him body parts of dead soldiers, and it's like you're defeating the whole purpose of trying to train these things by just keeping them wanting human food, like literal human food. Like it doesn't make any sense. And it's sad because he makes really good progress with Bub. Like he's teaching him how to read pretty much, and he's showing him like Mozart, and like he's shown Bub is shown to be able to use a gun, and we'll get to that. He can definitely use a gun, but but yeah, and it's like you make all this progress, but it's essentially in the end it's fucking useless. I mean, Bub is definitely more civilized than the rest of the zombies, but it's the same problem. He's gonna want to eat people. There's no, you know, in the end, his efforts are futile completely because it's like you've made no point. Sure, these things can remember, and we'll get more into that. They can remember how to do things. They can, if you teach them, they can be taught. But it's like if that's the key to teaching them, then what's the point? And again, that kind of makes me lean more towards the military of just fucking killing them. I mean, it makes sense to me. But anyways, so yeah, Dr. Logan though is a really fucked up character, but love him to death nonetheless. And then we have Sergeant Rhodes or Captain Rhodes. I can't remember what his rank is. But no, he is easily my favorite character in this, just from a sheer entertainment factor. He's extremely he's a dick. There's no way else to really describe it. He is a complete asshole to people in this film. But I mean, you can tell, especially with interactions with Dr. Logan, you can tell that in the inside, deep down, this dude's just scared. I mean, when he's talking to Frankenstein, as he calls him, and he's like, what the fuck do you want us to do? He's like, we need to just kill these things. You can tell this guy does not want to die. And he's another thing that's pretty honorable about him, which he kind of goes back on at the end of this film, but he's very passionate about his men and keeping his men safe. When he sees that Dr. Logan is feeding these soldiers to Bub, he just kills him. He's like, "Fuck you, dude! Like, I've had enough," and just shoots him. Just fills this dude full of holes. And he's even like he's ranting and raving. He's like, "We're losing men, and you people are just experimenting on these things." And but yeah, I can't really do justice to the performance that Joseph Pilato does for this character. He's just a hoot. He's great, man. even his death scene, which we will get into here in a second. Overall, he's just entertaining as all living shit. He's just fantastic to watch. Unfortunately, no longer with us, which is a damn shame because this guy is incredible in this film. Now let's talk about these damn zombies. Holy shit. The previous 3 installments of CoronaMania all featured running zombies, which is something I didn't even think about when selecting the films for this. But I stated before that I might have a thing for running zombies, and I definitely do. However, to me, obviously, this being my favorite zombie film of all time, these are my favorite zombies of all time. I mean, once again, I know I put George A. Romero over in the beginning of this, but the way he directs zombies and the way he thinks about the monster known as a zombie, to me, is so cool. It is the OG original zombie. They're definitely dead, first of all, hence the name. but they're definitely not as smart as something like a Return of the Living Dead or anything like that. But they're, I don't even know how to describe it. There's something about these zombies that to me is so cool, and especially when you introduce something like Bub, and yeah, obviously I mentioned Bub earlier. Bub's the science experiment of Dr. Logan, and he's basically the proof to a certain extent that these zombies can be taught. They can be taught how to be civil. They can be taught how to be obedient. Obviously, that comes with a certain price, but nonetheless, they can be taught, which is interesting. I think that puts a whole different dynamic and a whole different view on what a zombie is. You take something like The Walking Dead, which I know everybody adores that show. I have my own feelings about it, but those zombies are very one-dimensional. They're just lumbering corpses that don't have a lot of depth to them. And obviously, you can't really get a whole lot of compelling character work out of a zombie, but this film does a damn good job, especially with Bub. Like, I mean, Dr. Logan drops the fact that he was a member of the military when he was a living person. And you can just see by his mannerisms, and he's like doing this and shit. Like, you can tell and all props to the guy who played Bub. I cannot remember his name for the life of me. I kind of feel like a fool for not marking it down. But very Boris Karloff-esque performance from this guy. Bub is incredible. Definitely a zombie, no doubt about it. But he adds a whole new layer of depth to what a zombie is. All in all, just a great character, because Bub is a character in this film, no doubt about it. And the rest of the zombies obviously look great. Tom Savini and his team always do an incredible job on any project they're on. And the makeup effects in this are incredible. Like, they're just, these zombies look fucking terrifying. And people can say whatever the fuck they want about, oh, 80s movies are cheesy and blah, 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 blah. These are some of the best looking zombies I've ever seen. Without a doubt. No doubt about it in my mind. So all in all, zombies are great. In general, zombies fucking rule. I think we can all agree with that. But let's get into the blood, baby. I don't know, I went full Austin Powers there. Let's get into the blood, baby. This film's gory as shit. This film is so graphic. It's like, it's hard to make my stomach churn. I've seen so much shit in horror movies. I've seen some unspeakable things in horror movies and other movies, to be, fair. But just, and by no means is this hyper realistic gore. It's not. But oh my god, just the fact that they throw so much of the red stuff at the screen and in your face in this movie, it's glorious. It's great. Tom Savini, they call him the King of Gore for a reason. He is just that. And yeah, you can definitely tell with some of the effects in this, obviously, but there are some that even now, like I said, for the umpteenth time, I was watching this with my folks for the second go around, and there were kills in this movie where like obviously my mom was like not having it. She was fucking squirming around, and even one of them, my fucking dad, like kind of like cringed, and that never happens. It just doesn't. So the gore in this is fantastic. Some amazing kills. Obviously, the big featured prominent, deaths are the most fantastical and gory and sweet. But even like the little ones, like when a zombie gets like shot in the head or something, the way the practical effects look in this, those are even memorable. Like there's one where the zombie gets shot in the head, and like it's like a fucking fountain. It's cheesy as all living shit, but like it's fucking pus and blood, and it's so gross. But that's the, again, going back to the passion and actually giving a shit what this looks like. Like all of the blood in this, like there's not a single complaint that I have about the practical effects in this film at all. Like, again, like I've said, anyone who says, "Oh, that's fake," it's like, well, no fucking shit, moron. Of course it is, and you can tell. But fuck you. This movie's fantastic, and the red stuff is here and prominent throughout this whole thing. And yeah, so let's just get into the death of the film while we're talking about it. Let's wrap this up and put a nice little bow on it. Nice little bloody bow. So, honorable mention, first of all. I will get into it here in a second, but I need to bring this up. Like I said, the big featured prominent deaths are where this movie shines. And at the end, obviously, all the military guys are getting killed off one by one. Very rapidly paced, too. It's like one dies, the other dies. It's like, it bombards you with the red stuff. And I love it. Honorable mention goes to the one guy. He's like, it's so funny because I don't even think this guy gets a name in the movie. He's a very much so a background character, but he's running through the cave, and the zombies obviously get the better of him, and the zombie sticks his fingers in this dude's eye sockets, and other zombies are like picking at his neck. So naturally, what's gonna happen next. They just tear his fucking head off. And when that happens, you can literally, I didn't even notice this until like a number of years ago, and someone pointed it out on like a Facebook group that I'm in or something. You can literally hear this voice box getting ripped apart, because when he's screaming, the pitch just gets higher and higher and higher until you can't hear it anymore. And I'm like, oh my god. And then I watched it back after I heard that, and I was like, holy shit. Like, the fact that they even thought to do that is incredible. It's a great kill. However, it is not the kill of the movie. On the surface, all of the gore in this is fantastic, so you would think it's hard to pick one, but how can you not go with Captain Rhodes' death? That's the pinnacle. In my opinion, excuse me, I think it's the best zombie kill of all time. I'll just say it flat out. So basically, let's just run it down. And obviously, by this point, if you haven't seen this film, why are you watching the spoiler section? But let's just run down this kill. So basically, Dr. Rhodes, what the fuck? Captain Rhodes has been feuding with Bub this whole movie. Like, he does not like this fucking thing. And Bub's a very sympathetic character. He's very, in a weird way, very caring. He cares a lot about Dr. Logan. And so, as I've said before, Rhodes kills Logan. Just guns him down. You could say rightfully so. He was literally feeding his men to Bub. But Bub does not like that at all. He escapes his chains, and this is when all the shit's hitting the fan. Zombies have broken in. All out chaos. And Bub finds Dr. Logan shot to hell, dead. And he pretty much cries. He literally just I'm not gonna try and impersonate it and make an ass out of myself, but he does. He cries, and he basically throws a tantrum like a child would. And so he ends up running into Rhodes, and Rhodes at this point has basically betrayed his whole loyalty towards his men, and he just leaves them. He's like, all right, fuck you guys, I'm gone. And he just leaves them, and they're none too pleased about that. So after they all get killed, he runs into Bub, and Bub has a gun. And it was hinted at earlier in the film that he knows how to use this thing, and he shoots Rhodes a couple times, and so Rhodes is just limping through. I think he shoots him in the shoulder and then the back, So this dude's already fucked up, and he's just kind of lumbering through the halls, and he ends up getting to this door, and he turns the knob, opens it, and all like there's gotta be like 15 zombies behind this door, and so Rhodes is like, I'm fucked, and tries to turn around, and Bub shoots him like right in the kidney, which sucks. I haven't been shot in the kidney, but I've been hit in the kidney, and that doesn't feel any good. So I doubt this felt very good either. So that basically stuns him, and these zombies just fucking rip him apart. They literally like pick at his stomach to the point where there's just nothing left, and they just take the lower half of his body. They're just like, boop, and they just take it. And so he's just all he's dead pretty much. But in his last gasp, he's an asshole to the bitter end, and this fucking dude just starts yelling, choke on him, choke on him, and then inevitably dies. But man, Captain Rhodes, dude, an asshole to the better end. How much balls does it take? Which is ironic because he technically didn't have his balls by this point, but how much balls does it take to get ripped in half and then still be an asshole? Like, still talk shit. Choke on a motherfucker. Great line. And my kill of the film. Well, guys, that'll do it for Day of the Dead. All in all, absolutely fantastic film. Check it out if you haven't already. Because, man, best zombie film of all time, bar none. There's just no comparison, in my opinion. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments down below. I'm sure a lot of people don't, but you know, it is what it is. But now let's get into some future plans. CoronaMania is over. I know everyone's sad. It's not over in real life though, unfortunately. So I would rather that be the case. But you know, it is what it is. Gonna take a break from zombies for a little bit. I definitely want to get into more slashers and shit like that. But so what we're gonna do, I've sent out a request for people to essentially, you know, request any film you want me to review. I posted it all on my Instagram, all my movies, horror, not horror, anything, and people mostly picked horror, thankfully. But I even got some non-horror films in there, so there's going to be not suggestions, requests that I'm going to be doing, movie review requests. And in between all of those films, I will be, as promised, I will be reviewing the Friday the 13th franchise, which is, I would say, the Friday the 13th franchise is the thing that got young Alex, young 10-year-old Alex, into the horror genre. So this is gonna be fun, guys. It's gonna be interesting for sure. But yeah, all in all, I don't want to ramble too much. Thank you guys for joining me on this amazing CoronaMania journey, and let's keep kicking ass. Let's keep making good reviews. And yeah, I'm rambling, but whatever, guys. Keep watching horror. Take care of each other. Love you guys.